Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee as the chime from the wind chimes lingers on. It's lovely. Thank you very much to a constant listener who used to make wind chimes, and she told me that this part up here is called the clapper, that the morning glory vine is climbing up, and that this part down here is called the sail. Now we all know. Let's see, today is, say it with me, Friday! Woohoo! October 8th. And I apologize, no podcast yesterday. Yesterday got away from me. Um, it was, I overslept. I slept until like 6:30, uh, and I was moving slowly. Anyway, and then a friend of mine came into town unexpectedly, and so I went to have brunch and ended up spending pretty much all morning having brunch and talking, which was actually great. It was a much needed break and a terrific conversation. And yeah, so I was just messaging with wonderful author Amanda Boucher. Hello, Amanda, who said I looked down on Tuesday's podcast. Um, we're tired. Thanks, Amanda. No, I'm kidding. And she said, oh, I can't remember what she was putting it down to. And she say, oh, that I was peeved about the review. I wasn't peeved about the review. I mean, and I talked about that, I think, on Tuesday. Uh, I mean, I was semi peeved about the review, but not upset about it. I just felt like it was important to talk about ageism. I also want to point out, I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen, but my blue girl rose is blooming in the background there. It's so beautiful. And we're going to get a hard freeze next week. So the garden will pass away for another year. But right now it's beautiful. No, I have had a tired. I have just been tired. Uh, I think that this book that I'm writing is kicking my ass. I know it is. It's been hard to write. Genre departure, and also it's affecting me emotionally on a couple of different levels. Some of it has to do with just the feeling of trying to meet a certain expectation, which, as much as I fight it, it's hard. I mean, it's just hard, you guys. And I know that that's a question that you ask a lot. Like, how do you kick those voices out of the room? How do you divorce yourself from expectations when you're writing something? And I mean, it's like that's the answer, is it's really freaking hard. And all you can do is your best. I mean, you could try different techniques, but sometimes you just have to forge through it. The book is also, even though it is fiction, it's a novel, it is reaching into some painful experiences from the past, that things that I have set aside for a long time, and that have mostly gotten over, but uh, they're affecting me. The Taoists have an analogy, and I don't think it comes directly from the Tao Te Ching. It might, there might be a line of Lao Tzu's that directly addresses it, but it's basically that if you have muddy water, you let the mud settle to the bottom, and then the water's clear. And if you go in there with a spoon and you dredge it up and stir it up, it makes the water muddy. And that's where I'm at. My water is muddy right now. And it's an interesting thing because there's also drama going on in um, various facets of my life, most of which are not of my doing. Actually, I would say all of which are not of my doing. One of them is some people that are unhappy with me for what I think are petty and silly reasons. Um, it's and I'll just tell you guys right out. It's because in Monday's podcast, I referenced some stuff that people had told me, and they feel like I violated a trust by talking about that stuff. And I think you guys know that I'm very careful about what I talk about and what I say on here, and I'm careful not to share personal details. But uh, they felt like, I don't know, they felt exposed, and uh, I was given a warning not to do it again. And I said, there's no way I can keep track of like what I hear in a particular place as opposed to a different one. So I extracted myself from that place so that way I won't accidentally violate this again. And I said, if redacting personal details isn't enough, then I don't know what is enough. Don't tell me. Yeah, if you don't want me to talk about a thing, don't tell me. And I find it particularly bothersome because I know that many people are much more secretive by nature than I am, which I suppose is someone's right. But I feel like being secretive about the business is, I don't think that helps anyone. And this was wanting to be secretive within a particular group to make it be a safe space. But um, I'm not sure exactly who that's, they felt like it was being protective of them. And okay, whatever. So um but then there's a couple other things going on. People basically stirring the water, kicking up mud, and it's hard to say all of the reasons. I mean, I could spend a lot of time speculating why people do that. I think it comes from personal unhappiness. I think if people are unhappy, then they want to stir up the mud, and because they feel muddy themselves. Maybe they can't help it. Maybe they're just like down thrashing around in the mud, and so they kick it up around the rest of us. So yeah, some of it, is not, some of it has to do with just various other things I'm tangentially involved in. And one thing about people who are stirring up drama, mud, same thing, is they tend to want to loop everybody in. um, and I don't necessarily want to be looped, especially when I am dealing with my own mud stirring, my judicious mud stirring. I'm trying to like sip at the mud without dredging it up. But those of you who are writers know that it doesn't always work that way. I mean, that's sometimes the creative process can be difficult and angst ridden. Um, and I think that's just part of it. If we weren't dealing with emotion and dealing with difficult stuff, then it, what difference? What would we be doing? We'd be doing nothing, right? So so yeah, that's what I'm working on, and what I'm dealing with. So yesterday, it's kind of ended up working this way lately that it used to be like Tuesday was my low word count day, and now I've ended up kind of crashing on Thursdays instead. So it might be like I just have one day of the week that ends up being a low day of the week. Tuesday was a very busy day, but you know, and to it's busy for personal stuff, and with SIFWA, I've had a lot of appointments this week. It's just kind of worked out that way, but it just disrupts my schedule, disrupts my zen. Not nothing bad. It's all good. Like I had to go for my annual eye exam, and got my husband David to go for his, and it was the first time he'd been in 5 years, and unfortunately he's got cataracts, which you know getting old as hell. uh, but right now we're still going with glasses for him. postponing surgery. But, it's like things, right? Things, daily things. Yeah. Oh, so yesterday, I ended up, uh, you know, lingering long over brunch with my unexpected guest and got back home probably around noon. And then I had a SIFWA board meeting at 2, and I just thought, and I just couldn't bear to look at the book. I just couldn't bear to touch it. And it was later in the day anyway, and I just thought, okay, I'm just going to take the day off from it. And that worked. That helped. My friend Kelly Robson, the delightful writer Kelly Robson, um, who's been putting out she's got the announcement on her new book, her lesbian fairy stoner comedy that she wrote during the pandemic to make herself happy. Is going to be out from Tor.com next year, but it's getting closer now. So that's nice that she's able to talk about it now. Okay, I'm going to have to pause and move from the sun. I wanted you guys to see the rose, and maybe you can't even see it, but I'll move now. There, I've got it tilted out just in case. It's sort of hidden in the vine from your angle, probably. Should we just go over and see it? Should we do a tour? Let's go do a tour of the roses. All right, hang on so I don't scrape. Okay, there we go. Let's go do a tour of the roses here. This rose is hanging over the path. There we go. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So beautiful. This one over here is blooming too. Can you guys see that? You can. Yeah, you can. So, and then the rest of the garden looking pretty. Ignore that bucket. That's one of David's things. He's got the motion sensor camera set up on it so he can see what's been coming in and raiding the pond. We think it's probably a raccoon. I think he has yet to catch it on film, though. So, what was I going to tell you guys? I was branching into another topic there. Oh, just about resistance. So, in one of my groups, and I'll even say, no, I won't say, but one of my other groups, that was the other thing about this, is that on Monday's podcast, I was talking about conversations from people in a bunch of different places, a lot of different authors, and it was not just these these folks, um, which, there's a certain hubris to that, right? I mean, and I think it's human nature, right? Because we all think that things are about us, and maybe that's some sort of survival instinct. But I mean, you've done it too, right? You see somebody, one of your friends, or like your worse, your editor, your agent. I've done this where like my agent will say, oh, "Spare me another book that has peppermint sticks in it." And I immediately start thinking, oh my God, did I put peppermint sticks in the manuscript that she's reading now? And even if they add, no, this isn't about any of you, um, you're still thinking, well, but is it? Is it though? So, it's human nature that we think, oh, this must be about me because it must be about me, right? Um, so, anyway, uh, the stuff I talked about on Monday was a conglomeration of information from a lot of different places. And one of my other groups, um, who was actually happy to get a shout out, so I'll even give them a shout out. It's the Fantasy Romance Discord, the Faro Gals, which a group that was founded by Harriet Moore, who writes this H.R. Moore. And I mean, Harriet has done an amazing job of bringing this community together of all these authors who write any form of fantasy romance. And it includes urban fantasy and contemporary fantasy and all this sort of thing. And she's a lumper, not a splitter. And the Discord is a really fun place. And I don't always say things, but I usually check in. And sometimes the back scroll can be daunting because these gals get chatty. But if you are a writer in that genre, you should check it out because it is a really fun community. And anyway, a person about whom I shall give no personal details asked a question on there about being burned out because she had been working really hard and putting together a lot of, she'd been hustling. She'd been hustling. She had applied to be part of a lot of different anthologies and box sets and so forth, and crafted this schedule for herself to, meet all of her deadlines. Does this sound familiar? You know, it is about me, right? All about me. Uh, and that she was finding that she would try to open her document and work on it and like couldn't even bear to look at it. Does this also sound familiar? And I know that this can be a difficult thing to parse because what is the resistance of um, the normal dread and procrastination, which we all feel of like, oh, I don't want to write. Writing is hard. All of these things, right? Um, Making yourself put words on the page is absolutely one of the most important and hardest won skills that there is. If you want to, but if you want to be especially if you want to be a novelist, you have to learn how to do it. You have to learn how to write every day, and I put that quotation marks every day, um, in order to get it done right. Obviously, it's not absolutely every day, and we have this conversation a lot, because we'll give the advice, and I received this advice for many years before I took it, which is to write every day and try to write at the same time every day, and that is the key to productivity, to building that writing habit. And I absolutely, absolutely believe that that is one of the ways to do it. And people will get upset and say, well, not everybody can do that. And that's fine. Not everybody can do that. But then somebody will always ask, well, do you really mean every day? Do you mean every day? I mean, do you mean like even if you have people staying in your house, if you have an out of town guest show up for brunch, if you're puking from food poisoning? So, of course, it doesn't mean um, that you're there sitting at your laptop or walking at your laptop. Um, Despite the hurricane that is shattering the house around you. Okay. It just means build the habit. Try to write every day at the same time every day. I take weekends off. Clearly, I occasionally take a Thursday off. Um, so I don't know if maybe our language isn't good to communicate that, but it means make it a habit. Just like you go to work every day, right? If you have a job, and some of you may not have ever had a job where you work for somebody else, but if you have a job where somebody pays you, you go to work every day, right? That's what we say. You go to work every day. Well, do you go to work every day? What about weekends? What about if you have food poisoning? What if it's a national holiday? Okay? It's the same thing. So just take it with that same concept, right? Okay. So you want to write every day and at least attempt it. And I know that this contradicts what I just said when I said that yesterday I decided I wasn't even going to attempt it. And a lot of times, if I feel that way, I will make myself at least attempt it. And sometimes it works. Sometimes I do get words. Um, there is a certain feeling, and this is not quantifiable, which the scientist in me absolutely sympathizes with any arguments you want to make here. Uh, but it's a gut feeling. You just have to learn how to read the messages from your creative self, which is part of what having a consistent writing habit will teach you. If you make yourself write, I'm just going to say it this way, every day at the same time every day, you begin to learn what is the baseline resistance to doing the work and what is something different. That is what having a writing habit teaches you. So if you get that feeling of complete and utter revulsion, and when she said that, I knew exactly what she meant, and I was going to comment, and maybe I still will, or maybe I'll maybe someone will point out this podcast to her, because I just didn't have time when I saw it, and it was also farther up the back scroll, so you guys get it. And other people had answered her, and sometimes you feel like you're just late to the conversation. But the thing I wanted to point her to, which I also couldn't, is the panel that I was on at Nebula Conference, where we talked about burnout. And, burnout is a very real thing, especially for creatives, and maybe not something that we talk about all that much. But it's real, and it happens. And the bad thing is that once you hit that place where you hit a serious amount of, like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to describe this sensation. It's like when you look at the document, and it's almost like a big piece of rubber, and you just bounce right off of it. It's like it is not open to you. It's like no. And it makes that face too. It's like you open the document and you kind of look at it, and it just makes the monster face back at you. No. Um, I don't know what it is. These things are maybe not definable in rational, conscious terms, but it's a real thing. So, what do you do when you're there? You have to take some time away, and a lot of times you don't want to. You really don't want to, because whatever schedule or pressure you were under that got you to that in the first place, that hasn't changed, right? And so you're like, I can't not work on it because I have this deadline. But the thing is if you don't take that time off, if you don't figure out a way to ditch that deadline or work around the deadline or postpone it or something, then you run the risk of making it even worse. And that it's an unfortunate and very uncomfortable truth. And there it is. And so I think I got distracted when I was brought up Kelly Robson earlier, more than just about her delightful novella that will be coming out. Uh, we had a funny conversation yesterday morning because I said I was tired. I said, "Oh, I'm just tired." And she said, "Well, I think you need a vacation because, she said, you haven't done more than take like a few days off here and there. And, she said, you probably need a 2-week vacation. When was the last time you had a full 2-week vacation?" She's Canadian. Did I mention this? I feel like that's a salient point here because I said, "Kelly, I don't think I've had a 2-week vacation in my entire life." And she said, "Well, then you need a 3-week vacation." And all I could do was send her, emojis that were like, "I can't imagine taking 3 weeks off. I can't imagine taking 2 weeks off." And she says, "Well, that's why you need to." And she said that's the challenge of being busy, because I'd replied saying I don't know what I would do for 2 weeks, and she said, "Well, that's why. That's the challenge of learning how to not be so busy." Um, Reader, I am not going to take a 2-week vacation. Maybe if I went somewhere and I don't know, had other things to do. I just can't quite imagine it. I don't know. Yeah. Besides which, it's not going to happen right now. So even though I just said that when you start feeling that sense of burning out, of bouncing off of the thing, that you need to take a break and come back to it. Uh, Sometimes a smallish break will work. You don't have to take a 2-week vacation, Kelly. So I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling better about it. I'm going to go dig in. I'm closer. I've got like 16,000 words on this book. I'm worried that the stuff I've written lately is terrible. I'm afraid it sucks. Dorinda offered to read it for me. She's like, I'll tell you if it sucks. And I said, I really appreciate it, but I'm not at a place where I'm ready for you to tell me that it sucks. And this goes back to my shaken baby analogy, um, which I've talked about before. You'll have to go find it. If you look up shaken baby syndrome in the tags, you'll find it. But I'm afraid there's something very wrong with my baby, and I am not ready for her to tell me what it is. Um, I'm just gonna nurse it a little longer, and then we'll see. As It's not picking cotton, but you know what, you guys, it's not easy either. So on that note, I will remind you all that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts that you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I will talk to you all on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, rejuvenating and full of relaxation and fun things. And I don't know. If you've ever taken a 2 or 3 week vacation, tell me what you did. You all take care. Bye bye.